Alright guys, so we're here at the Southern California Railway Museum. So we're gonna go see what it's all about. In today's Kim's Adventure, we're at the Southern California Railway Museum with Look Who's Blogging in Perris, California. It was founded in 1956 at Griffith Park and later moved to its current location in 1958, being named the Orange Empire Railway Museum. In 2019, the name was changed again to the Southern California Railway Museum, and it's been that way ever since. As we entered, we were greeted by two original ticket booths from Disneyland. We met up with our guide Brian, who gave us an up-close and personal tour of the entire joint. In Los Angeles, during the early 20th century, yellow and red streetcars used to dominate the public transportation lines. As buses started replacing the trolley, 14 men conspired to preserve the railway legacy and incorporated it into a non-profit, and the museum was officially in business. Our first stop was at the Grizzly Flats Engine House No. 6, which features narrow-gauge steam locomotives, passenger and freight cars, and the Ward Kimball Collection. Ward Kimball was an American animator employed by Disney and was part of the main team of animators known collectively as the Disney 9 Old Men. Outside of his job, Kimball was a train enthusiast. As a part-time railroad hobbyist, he purchased a mogul steam locomotive, once named Sidney Dillon, which had operated in the Nevada desert since 1881. This old gentleman was shooting the breeze about how he refurbishes these train wheels to keep the steam engine in tip-top shape. In order to maintain the miles of tracks, handcars were utilized by the employees. By the 1920s, a number of railroad suppliers offered motor cars to replace the hand-pumped ones. This little gem was previously used by Knott's Berry Farm for the Ghost Town and Calico train ride. They were basically regular cars, but with special wheels designed for tracks. Look at this poor sap, sleeping on the job. How convenient. We were then introduced to Chloe, built by Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1907 as a coal burner. These were primarily used to work around mills, mines, logging, and other industrial plants. Ward Kimball purchased it in 1948 from a sugar company and operated it in a 500-foot track in his backyard, which was named Grizzly Flats. Quite an eccentric character. Brian had scheduled us to ride the OB589 Old Smokeless, but there was some issues with getting it started. We then walked through the West Side Lumber Company caboose, which spent its life behind the logging trains near Yosemite National Park. It felt like we were inside a log cabin, a real blast from the past. It's a rainy day right now. Rainy day. But we need it in California. We then went to Carhouse No. 2, which houses standard electric locomotives, streetcars, and parts of the Pacific Electric Collection. This yellow car was built in 1907 and had over 250 route miles of track until it was decommissioned in 1963. A lot of the original advertising was preserved and are displayed above the window. I only recognized a few of these brands. Time sure has changed.
Wait, what type of streetcar is this?
Yeah, it's a California car. Well, it's actually a Huntington standard. And the reason it doesn't have, it's open-ended is because it's referred to as a California car. So the weather is so nice, you would have always rode out here. And today, when it's raining, you would have got on and you would have rode in here and closed this bulkhead door so you could have stayed warm.
Oh.
got two.
This has windows,
either
though.
end.
Okay.
Yes, and it has windows. It will actually drop down and close like this.
Ah.
To keep everybody warm.
Apparently, our current bus designs were based on these old streetcars. The idea was that people would hop on the bus without realizing it wasn't a streetcar. Very sneaky if you ask me. This cable car was developed in 1873 as a replacement for the horse-drawn carriage. It was equipped with vice grips that cut the cable and moved it at a whopping 12 miles per hour. When it was ready to stop, it would disengage. This one was bought by Knott's Berry Farm and modified to use as a parking lot shuttle. Here we got a streetcar that came all the way from Kyoto, Japan. And they even have a replica wanted poster. This guy's wanted for bombing. These two are wanted for bombings. And these are murder. Railroads have always transported a multitude of items. But who in God's green earth would ever think it would carry a dead body? The Descanso funeral car was built in 1909 and operated till 1924. For only $25, riders could charter the deceased along with the entire funeral party to and from one of several cemeteries in Los Angeles. Can't even buy a 50-pound bag of rice these days. Times sure have changed. The rain died down a bit, so we went outside to tour the interactive signal garden.
What is?
What'd you press? What'd you press, Dylan? Yeah?
The one up front is in a cage. It's guarded.
Yeah.
And the wigwag hangs underneath.
Man, I can't believe she fell asleep. Then we swung around to Hallstrom Park. Just a quick note, the museum has several venues such as Hallstrom Park where spaces can be rented for events. For more information, contact the museum at 951-943-3020 or email them at info@socalrailway.org. Brian explained that they randomly get tombstones for free, and they would engrave them with the museum logos. Check out this candle from the movie Tombstone. Just a little inside joke from our friend Brian. This guy cracks me up. The Middelton Museum, which is housed inside two Rio Grande baggage cars, includes a century of toys and scale model railroad cars, artifacts, automobiles, trucks, and other historic items. I just love looking at all these retro toys. Oh, it's right there.
There's one of them. I knew there was a big one. This one says Knott's Berry Farm Ghost Town and old-fashioned preserves.
Finally, we went to the Hugh T. Smith Carhouse, which features large passenger, freight, and electric cars. This beast is called the Ventura County Railway No. 2, also known as VC2. It's the museum's steam engine, which has been fired up a few times for special events. Currently, it's undergoing its 1472 inspection and won't be available to rent through the Run 1 program. The Run 1 program lets visitors become a train engineer and actually operate a variety of different trains and streetcars. Prices range from $100 an hour to $350 an hour. Definitely an experience of a lifetime. We then hopped aboard the Union Pacific, which was the last major railroad completed to Los Angeles in 1905. Its beginnings stretched back to 1862, when Abraham Lincoln signed the Pacific Railroad Act to construct a transcontinental railroad. Inside was like a hotel on wheels. They even had a mail train. I guess mail guys don't get to have a door on the loo. By the way, where does all that sewage end up? In the sleeping car, these cabins can be converted into sleeping quarters. And if passengers couldn't afford a room, they would have a bunk bed like in the I Love Lucy episode. We have another international streetcar here, and it comes all the way from Ireland. It's called the Hillhouse Tramway No. 2 and operated from 1901 to 1959. This tram is unique because it's a double-decker and has an open-air top level. We would have loved to sit down, but everything was really dusty. Look at my little princess, being carried like a baby. And last but not least, we have the Pacific Electric Hollywood Car 655. A man by the name of Richard Fellows purchased several scrap cars and converted them to have rubber tires and gasoline engines. It felt so spacious inside this one. Let's sit down and rest our feet a bit. This concluded our tour of the trains, so it was time to make our way out. Unexpectedly, the train museum manages an actual orange grove with several different varieties growing. We tried this one that Brian coined as the old man oranges. I'm not gonna lie, these oranges tasted pretty good. And before we called it a day, Chef Brian whipped us up a batch of carne asada tacos. He's really a swell guy if you ask me. Before going home, Look Who's Blogging wanted to check out the apple boulders that were a few miles away from the train museum. Perris is your typical working class California city, which is sparse in terms of unique sights and excitement. So seeing these giant boulders painted as sliced apples really stands out like a sore thumb. Apparently, a man named Neil Larsons painted these in 1983. He lived just above the bluffs near the rock and was pleased to see that locals have taken care of it all these years. But there was evidence of some transients living here, and I would be lying if I wasn't a little worried about some meth head popping out and giving me a shank in the liver. Good times. Anyways, the boys took the opportunity to solve some killer mixes while relaxing on the boulder. And the mysterious Camus made a cameo appearance. Overall, we had a good time in Perris, California with Look Who's Blogging, a city known for trains and meth heads sleeping near apple boulders. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, here's some more suggestions. And as always, please like, subscribe, and press the bell for notifications, and I'll see you on the next Kim's Adventure.